We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. It is Wednesday. Now, yesterday we did a live on YouTube. That went pretty well. We had a lot more Trumplefucks come through than I'd ever seen before. So, next time we go back on YouTube, we'll have some moderators and we'll be shutting these dumb Trumplefucks down. But it's not like I learned a lesson because we're going to do a TikTok live while doing the Rational Boomer podcast. Part of this is because it's fun. I like having the interaction. Part of it is because I'm a lazy bastard. So that's what we're going to do. And we're starting to get some people joining us here on the TikTok live. Uh, we are doing a TikTok live for those of you on TikTok. Um, I'm also going to be recording this or to be one of the Rational Boomer podcast. So if you're here part of the live and you miss it, you'll be able to listen to the Rational Boomer podcast and hear it from there. So I'm excited to get started. I told the folks on the podcast that yesterday I did a live on YouTube, and YouTube's a lot tamer because I have fewer followers there, and I don't really have much trouble with Trumplifucks. Well, that's over because yesterday we had a whole shitload of Trumplifucks, and I'm guessing we'll have a bunch here tonight. But thankfully, I got TJ the plumber up in this bitch, and he's going to be handling some of these Trumplifucks and getting them the fuck out of the way. Great Captain may show up as well. So I'm thankful for those folks that are the moderators. They do a lot of work. Um, they don't get a lot of credit, but I will give them credit because they help me out immensely. Let's talk about what some of these people are saying. Thank you, Boomer, for your straightforward honesty, and I really sincerely hope people get it. I do too. I'm afraid some people don't get it, and I have to keep pounding it in their heads, but I'm happy to do it if that's what it takes. Harris is accomplished woman, morals, brains, compassion, standards, morals. You said morals twice, but I think that may make some sense. I think that that apparently isn't what Republicans are looking for because they have a lot of nasty things to say about Kamala Harris. And for the life of me, I can't find any out. Their guy is 34 felony convictions. Oh, did you hear that Donald Trump caught another charge today? Donald Trump caught another criminal charge today. Did you hear this? Apparently, there's a rule in Ohio that citizens can file a criminal charge. It doesn't have to be the police department. And there is an organization in Ohio that filed criminal charges against Donald Trump and his little Baba Louie sidekick guy, J.D. Vance, for inciting all these problems in Springfield. I mean, they said it first, they were proven wrong, they were told it was wrong, but they kept doing it. People always ask me, is there something we can do legally? And I didn't fucking know. Had no idea about this law in Ohio. So we have criminal charges in Ohio filed against Donald Trump and JD Vance. So my question is, what happens when they go there to campaign? They show up at a campaign place, someplace in Ohio. Do they then come grab that some bitch, or is it just in Springfield? I know Donald Trump was talking about going back to Springfield. I'm guessing he's not going now. He doesn't want to get cuffed and hauled into the Springfield courthouse, I'm sure. Funny thing is J.D. Vance has a criminal charge in Ohio, which is the state he represents as a U.S. senator. For fuck's sake, these guys can't catch a break. Catherine says, voting blue, hello from North Carolina. We're counting on you in North Carolina. We have to thank Mark Robinson for fucking things up totally and for Donald Trump and J.D. Vance refusing to pull their endorsement. This is what narcissists do. They double down, they triple down, and they will never admit they're wrong. Well, that's going to cost them the state of North Carolina. And I'm hoping we can turn that blue because if we do, this is a devastating thing for Donald Trump. Um, Hi, Carolyn from Duluth. Hey, Carolyn. We love Duluth. We go to Duluth all the time. Both my sons went to college in Duluth for a time. So, TJ the plumber, one of the moderators. Hi, Mike. Hey, how you doing, TJ? Thanks for joining us. Thanks for helping out. Firewife 6868. You always give me such hope in this election. Well, we've got all the hope in the world. We've got the absolute worst presidential candidate in the history of this country against the best presidential candidate uh, in this country. Somebody's asking me Captain Crunch with chocolate. I'm not answering those questions because they're usually a way to play a fucking game by a Trumplafuck. So, hello there. If you're not a Trumplafuck, just pull it back. I'm not going to be talking bullshit questions. Uh, Thanks for speaking out. Happy to do it. I feel fortunate that I don't have a boss. I don't have people telling me I can't do it. I don't have all these people trying to pressure me. I will get Trumplafucks here from time to time, but we've seemed to have been able to handle them. I did have something. I'm going to say this to TikTok right now. I don't get many violations for the content of my videos, but I got one just a bit ago and I appealed it. But it was for inaccuracy regarding the elections. Now, the story I told in this video was completely verified. And what it was we've been hearing about this thing with Nebraska, how they have uh, four, well, they have a total of five electoral votes, electoral college votes. Four usually goes red, and one around Omaha goes blue. Well, the Republicans are getting desperate, so they wanted to make it a take all state. They wanted to get that one vote because they thought that one vote might be the deciding factor in the election. Please, motherfucker, you think it's going to be that close? I don't think so. But, anyways, they wanted to grab that up. They did it 42 days out from the election. It was a little sketchy. If they wanted to do it 2 years ago, that's another thing. Well, they kept trying to push this, and everybody was worried about it. But what happened was a Republican state senator stood up, and he would have been the deciding factor as to whether they could explore changing this rule. And he said, fuck no. So that little game that the Republicans are trying to play in Nebraska, all done. Charles Baker, I like you, my brother. You keep it real. Thank you, Charles. Appreciate it. Um, Mista, can you talk about the $200 or 200% tariff threat he made on John Deere? He's just talking out his ass. He doesn't even know what he's talking. The idea of putting a 200% tariff on John Deere, people are going to still buy John Deere. And guess what's going to happen? The people making John Deere, if they come out of Mexico and he puts a 200% tariff on them, they're either going to have to pay the extra tariff, the people buying it, or they just won't sell them here. So the whole concept is ridiculous. The idea of tariffs as a tax advantage for anybody, that's absolutely fucking stupid. Um, I can see that we're already getting some dirt bags out there, some Trumplafucks. So yeah. And TJ, I'm going to block some as I see them too, if you don't mind. TJ suggests listen to the Rational Boomer podcast on Spotify or YouTube. Yes, we have the audio version on Spotify, and we have the YouTube version, which is a video version of the podcast. Usually, I do a podcast shortly thereafter. I put it up, and it's available after midnight throughout the whole day. And tomorrow's podcast, or if you're listening today's podcast, is from this TikTok live. I'm recording the whole thing, and then I'm going to replay it as a podcast in tomorrow's or today's podcast. So by all means, check it out. All you have to do is go to Spotify, put in search Rational Boomer, you'll find it. Go to YouTube, search Rational Boomer, you'll find it. There's actually a link in my profile too. Gypsy Bev, hi from Australia. I want Kamala to win too. Somebody asked me that question. They said, "Do you ever go out of the country and talk to people what they're thinking about what's going on in the United States with the politics?" And I haven't really traveled abroad as yet. I travel around the country, but not abroad. But I do get a lot of people commenting in my DMs and comments on my videos and here in the podcast. And what I gather from other countries, some of them are laughing about the silliness of what's going on, and I don't blame them. If I wasn't in the middle of it, I'd be fucking laughing too. But more importantly than that, some of these other countries, people in these other countries are nervous too, because they know whatever happens in the United States may trickle down to them one way or another. So people around the world are waiting to find out what happens on November 5th. And I'm here to tell you, no way Donald Trump wins. Kamala will win, and I honestly think she will win decisively. Why are all the networks making it sound like PA is so close? Doesn't Kamala have it? Yeah, that's something that people came out and asked me about. All these new polls coming out saying, "Oh, it's so tight. PA is so tight." Well, here's the thing: you got to take polls with a grain of salt. We know polls are notoriously wrong. We know they were wrong in 2016. We know they were wrong in 2020. They were wrong in 2022. They're always fucking wrong. And here's the thing: we don't know who owns these polls. Most of the time, it's very wealthy people who are probably Republican in nature. We don't know the questions they ask because you can ask leading questions to get what you want and avoid getting what you don't want. We don't know who they're talking to, and we don't know what they do with the data once they have it. So there isn't a lot to be confident with when it comes to the polls. I always say if you really want to know how people support politicians, take a look at the fundraising. And right now, the fundraising is such that Kamala Harris is out raising Donald Trump by 400%, four times as much as Donald Trump is raising. And that tells you a story. What's a better illustration of who supports a politician than those folks that go in their pockets, take their hard earned money out, and give it to a politician? If that isn't the epitome of support, I don't know what the fuck is. Fuck the polls. Janet Smith, Florida here. We're leaning blue. That's what I hear. And it wouldn't surprise me with the abortion question on the ballot and legalizing marijuana and how badly DeSantis and everybody else has destroyed that beautiful state. I wouldn't be surprised if it went blue. And frankly, if it does go blue, Donald Trump is done. Jude, I heard they fixed the Montana ballots. Kamala is now on the ballot. Yeah, isn't it interesting that that got fucked up? Whoops, we had no idea. Yeah, I'll bet. All right. Got a lot of people, a lot of questions, and I appreciate it. It's a little faster paced on TikTok than it is YouTube, but I get a different crowd of people, and it's always great to hear from all the people. Got a lot of people supporting Kamala Harris. Tulsa Gia says, "Are you a Kamala supporter? You must be new here, Tulsa Gia." Yeah, I'm a Kamala supporter. I would support anybody that isn't Donald Trump because anybody would be smarter than Donald Trump. But yes, uh, uh, I think that she's an outstanding candidate, and I think she'll do a great job. All right, talk to three people and get them to vote for women's rights and ask them to talk to three people. Yeah, that's the whole point. People say, well, what do you hope to accomplish here? Well, I alone can't accomplish anything. Unlike Donald Trump, who can fix everything alone, I can't. The point of what I do is to get information out and get people inspired to talk to other people who will then talk to other people. And that's how we gain some ground here. Hello from Jersey, Jennifer. Hey, hey, Jennifer. Florida's not going blue. Stop being delusional and lying. Um, yeah. Let's see here. I blocked two more accounts today that were mimicking you. Yeah, thank you very much. There's a lot of them. You know, they talk some tough shit, but then they are imposters. Let me get to that point too. I have one account on TikTok. I've always had one account. I will only have one account. If they shut down this account, I won't be on TikTok. I'm on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. That's enough. Anybody that comes to you that seeks you out, that has my name, my videos, and my picture on it, and they try to engage you, ain't me. I'm happy to respond to people who come to me, ask me a question, but I will not reach out to you typically and ask you questions or try to get information from you. If you get that, it's an imposter, and they are trying to scam you. I tell my people about Project 2025. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. There's a lot of people still uninformed about it, and if they knew, they'd be appalled, and they'd know exactly who to vote for after reading something like that. Kamala will win hands down. Thank you for all you do. I agree with you. All right. Great Captain is out there too. Thanks for popping in. Great Captain. You're always a big help. Um, Linda says, thank you for being straightforward and upfront. Thank you for paying attention. Bam Bam TikTok. Then he doesn't deserve his name typed or said properly. Um, Hakeem C. I think she's a shoe-in for winning Detroit and the state of Michigan. I don't think there's any question she'll get the majority of the votes in Detroit. Michigan, we don't know for sure, but I'm feeling pretty strong about that too. Do you think Pennsylvania will indeed vote blue? I kind of do. I kind of do. Remember, she's polling pretty good there. She's going there a number of times. Um, Donald Trump has made himself out to look like a fool in that state. And you got Josh Shapiro pumping things up too. So I think the odds are pretty good that Pennsylvania will come through for Kamala. Not to mention the whole overturning Roe v. Wade thing. I think that's the big issue here. Every state that has any concerns about that is going to go Kamala. They don't want to go the draconian route with Donald Trump. Why did Trump say that if he wins PA, he wins it? All he needs way more than just that, doesn't he? Yeah, he does. He's assuming that he's going to get everything he always got and that Pennsylvania is a pivot point. Well, that's kind of true, but so is North Carolina. That's if everything is the same from 2020. But when you hear us talking about Florida possibly flipping blue, that changes everything. He's not going to win Pennsylvania. There are going to be states that nobody expected turning blue. Donald Trump doesn't have a fucking prayer. He can say, see, that's the thing. He says a lot of shit, and for some reason, Democrats believe him. Understand this about Donald Trump. He is a pathological liar. Everything he says is a lie. So, so when he says something, why in the fuck would you believe that? All right, moving on. I love your take on things and check your TikTok page every day. Thank you, Heather from Dallas. Thank you, Heather. I appreciate that. How do you feel that Donald has JD under? Hey, do you feel like Donald has JD under control now? I don't think they even fucking talk to each other. I don't think Donald Trump likes him. Nobody's under control in the Republican Party. Donald Trump does whatever he wants to do, and everybody else just tries to fall in line and try to keep their head above water. And JD's not doing very well. Andrea says, I have tried with my Trump loving family. One said they won't talk to me ever if I vote for Harris. Okay. I got some people won't talk to me either. But listen, if you're supporting somebody who wants to overthrow the country, make this a worse place, then I don't want to talk to you either. Fuck yourself. Just because they're family, um, um, just because they're your family doesn't mean you have to like them. And there's some people I know that are friends and family that I don't like. And I'm not in a forgiving mood, especially doing what they tried to do. What's the deal with Trump and the serial numbers I've been hearing about? Serial numbers. I'm not sure what that is. Maybe somebody else out there can bring us up to date. Um, I love how these people come in here and say Trump 2024, like you're doing any motherfucking good. You just get blocked. They don't believe in Project 2025. Trump said, "Not mine." Yeah. Well, all of Trump's staff is working on Project 2025. Trump's name shows up in Project 2025 300 plus times. And if you look at some of the policies that Donald Trump has, they're exactly the same in Project 2025. Donald Trump says a lot of things and he always motherfucking lies. So why would you believe that? Okay, let's see here. I love your time you spend on here and the information you bring to the people. Always honest. Well, I try to be honest. Um, what I'm hoping to do is do what little I can to get in this fight and then make sure that Donald Trump loses. I think this country would suffer greatly if Donald Trump wins. I don't know that anything I do helps, but it couldn't hurt. And at least at the end of the day, I can say, look, man, I tried. I really hope we flip Ohio. Well, we should flip Ohio to blue, and here's why. Donald Trump is absolutely destroying the town of Springfield, Ohio. He's lying about it. Everybody knows he's lying about it. He's putting people in danger. Now, if I live in Ohio, even if I don't live in Springfield, I would think to myself, I know he's lying. He's putting regular people in jeopardy. Why would I vote for that motherfucker? I'm not saying Ohio will flip blue, but I think a possibility with there's a possibility with all the shit that's going on. Mark Meadows finally talked to the prosecutors. He must know Trump's losing, can't save him. Yeah, I think that's probably true. I think a lot of people are getting to that point where they think, we can't do shit now. Mark Meadows was standing right next to Donald Trump through the whole January 6th thing. He was involved in Georgia and Arizona. Yeah, he knows a lot of shit, and he's going to need to start talking, and it will all be devastating for Donald Trump. All right, let's move on. Hi, Mike. Can you explain what is the appeal for on Thursday, please? I thought I knew this. There's a couple things happening Thursday. One is more important than the other. Donald Trump is appealing one of his lawsuits. I thought it was the Letitia James lawsuit. Somebody else tells me it's Eugene Carroll's lawsuit. I don't know which. He's not going to win either appeal, but he's appealing a lawsuit which puts it in process to get to the final stage where Donald Trump will have to go in his pocket and pull all the money out. And if he can't do that, they're going to start taking his shit. So that's good. The other thing is that on Thursday, Jack Smith, the special counsel, is going to be filing a brief regarding the January 6th trial, the election interference trial. You remember what happened. We had that immunity thing from the Supreme Court. So he filed some superseding indictment, and now he's got to file a profile, file what am I trying to say? He's making a filing on Thursday. Now, normally these filings, these evidentiary filings are about 30, 40 pages. But this one's 180 pages. And he had to ask Judge Chutkan, is it okay if I give you a bigger filing? And she said today, yeah, that's cool, which is driving Donald Trump and his lawyers crazy because in this filing, because it's so big, there's going to be tons of evidence that we haven't seen as yet, exhibits that we haven't seen as yet. He's dumping the whole fucking thing in front of Judge Chutkan. And it's under seal initially, but ultimately it will come out and it will come out before the election. And Donald Trump does not want that. He won't have to worry about a trial happening before the election, but all the evidence is coming out. And good luck with that, Donnie, you dumb fuck. Is it possible that Texas could turn blue? I don't know enough about Texas to know for sure. Um, but the thing about it is I hear from a lot of people that they think that it could, and Florida and Texas, or Florida and Texas go blue. Donald Trump doesn't have a chance. Some clown here said, "Do you have grandkids ready to go to war?" I see these are the dumb fuckers. I have a 4-year-old granddaughter. I don't think she's going to war, and besides, we won't be in a war. You guys are desperate. I know you're whining and crying. It ain't working, but keep whining and crying. DJ the plumber or TJ the plumber says, don't interact with the trolls. The mods will handle them. Yes, they will. Please. It does no good to argue with these people. They can't comprehend truth or facts. They won't listen to it. You can't convince them no matter what you do. Trust me, I've fucking tried. They don't listen to shit. They don't listen to anything. I saw today Project 2025 has something saying they want to stop all overtime. Yeah, they kind of do. They, they want to stop overtime. Instead of 40 hours a week, they want 160 hours a month. So that means the first 2 weeks they could run you 80 hours a week with no overtime, and then let you hang out for 2 weeks doing nothing. It's another loophole game thing that the Republicans want to play to benefit the employers and the wealthy and to kick our asses. Woodman says, I like the way you deliver what you have to say. Thank you. It's the only way I know how to do it. I really appreciate what you do, sir. Vince Brown. Poppy, if you've lived long enough, you already know who the warmongers are, and it ain't the Democrats. Yeah, that's true. The numbers of Democrat volunteers in Texas shot way up when Harris entered the race, Dallas, Texas. I've heard there's something like 400,000 volunteers throughout the country, maybe higher than that now. But here's the deal. One of the other reasons Donald Trump doesn't have much of a chance. Kamala Harris has an incredible ground game, people knocking doors, offices all over the country. Donald Trump has zero ground game. He either doesn't have the money or he's too fucking lazy. Metal Mike, you're gone. Metal Mike came in and said that Kamala was a DEI hire. That's all you have to say. You're gone. How can anyone vote for a candidate who cannot vote because he's a felon? He might be able to vote. Now, he's down in Florida. Florida, you can't vote if you're a felon unless you were convicted in another state, and their law says you can vote up until the time you're in jail. And that's what New York has. So then Florida accommodates that law. So he probably will be able to vote, but that motherfucker can't even write his name. So I'm not worried about it. Uh, Indria Brooks says, yes, I have a friend who's knocking on doors today. We have a regular guest on the Rational Boomer podcast. Um, Her name is Old Soul. When it comes to activism, she is a beast. She's been flying all over the country, helping out, knocking doors, canvassing. I think she's in Pennsylvania right now, or at least was, and she's working hard. And I got to tell you, if Old Soul's on your side, God help the other side, because she don't fuck around. Brenda says, so worried Trump will win. The polls look so tight. Brenda, fuck the polls. The polls are always wrong. I said this before and I'll say it again. Don't look at the polls, look at the fundraising, because that'll tell you who supports who. Kamala Harris is out fundraising Donald Trump 4-1. How can the polls be tight if they're collecting 4 times as much money? And when they've got probably 4 or 5 times as many volunteers. That tells you a little bit about something about support. Um, Beans says, "Hey Boomer, hey Beans." Bye, Metal Mike. Yeah, he's gone. Moving on. If Texas flips 1968 election can be redeemed. Yeah, that's a long time for redemption, but I get what you're saying. The Haitian community in Florida will vote. Yeah, if you're somebody in this country of Haitian descent, you've got to be a little annoyed about your people being basically sacrificed by the Republican Party and Donald Trump. If you vote for Donald Trump, I don't know what you're thinking. What do you think about Trump told the farmers about John Deere? I don't think it helped him. I think it made him look stupid. I think it would never happen even if he was president because it's absolutely batshit crazy. I live in Texas and I vote blue all the way, and I'm voting for Kamala Harris. Thank you very much. Yeah, we get Texas and Florida flip. Fuck it. He's done. Trump, Judy says Trump is leading the polls. Stop lying. Well, Judy, I would love to answer you, but you're fucking gone. Sorry. Can Trump campaign funds be used for his litigation fees? Not legally, but that's what he's doing. I mean, he's used money illegally so much. I can only think that after the election is over, somebody's going to be looking into that bullshit. Um, Trump thinks he has a ground game here in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. No, he doesn't. He does. Please vote out Ted Cruz. I'm with you there. Ted Cruz and Rick Scott in Florida. We need those fuckers gone. All I see are Harris ads on TV. Trump doesn't have the money. You're absolutely right, Andrea. He's low on cash, and what cash he does is going to cover his legal fees. But what's going to happen after the election when he still has legal fees and he runs out of money? That's going to be a fucking problem. As a felon, can he even carry? No, he cannot. He cannot. He has an E class felony. Yes, he can vote. A lot of talk reps have put people in place where they won't certify the election if Kamala wins. No, that's not true. There are some people out there that you heard the media talk about, but they aren't all in pivotal places. And here's what you need to understand: what the Republicans and Donald Trump are going to do to try to cheat is what they did before. Except this time, Kamala Harris knows exactly what they're going to do. They hired 10 times as many of the top lawyers to be working on this as we speak. And keep in mind, in 2020, Donald Trump was the sitting president, so he had a lot more power. He's not the sitting president anymore. And by January 3rd, the Democrats will be in control of the House, and Hakeem Jeffries will be the Speaker of the House. And guess who's going to be certifying the election? Kamala Harris, because she's the VP. So don't worry about that shit. What polls do you trust? I don't trust any of them. There is no polls I trust. Even the ones that are good for Kamala Harris, I don't trust them. I think it's all a big manipulation to try to get people whipped up. I think Kamala is winning by a big amount. So even if you tell me Kamala's up by 5 points, I still think it's fucked up. Um, I've got people asking to be a guest on the live here, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I don't take guests on these lives. I mean, I might at some point, but it's going to have to be somebody I know that I can trust. Because when I first started doing this, I took some guests on thinking, I'll let anybody talk. There's some fucking goofballs out there. That's not going to happen. But more importantly, if I'm recording this for the podcast, if I have a guest on TikTok live, they aren't going to show up on the podcast. So it's going to sound like a lot of dead spots, and I'm not willing to do that. What about Trump getting 20 million from China and Egypt? Well, that definitely has to be looked at. It's being investigated by Congress. I don't think you'll see anything about it in terms of legal aspects until after the election. Everything's fucking on hold till after the election because everybody's too afraid that it's going to look political. But by avoiding looking political, you're being fucking political. That's the first thing they need to do is take Merrick Garland and kick his ass out. All right. Trump said he's going to work fries at McDonald's to see what it's like. Yeah. No, he's not. Um, what happened to the real Republicans like Bush Sr.? Well, they got co-opted by MAGA. They were wimps, they were wussies, they were cowards, and they let MAGA pull them around like a bull with a ring in his nose, his ring in a nose. They're either going to have to reform with real Republicans or come up with an entirely new party. PK Gal 51, age 72 here. I've been going door to door in California. Thank you very much, PK Gal. Please vote out Rick Scott. Absolutely. That criminal motherfucker. Remember, the FBI has his phone regarding January 6th. He's fighting to stop from getting that information out. He's going to lose that. And Rick Scott is going to have um, problems in this election if he doesn't get reelected. What are we doing about GA? Do you have a plan? Well, Georgia's going through some shit, but as I said before, Kamala Harris is 10 times as many lawyers as they had in 2020, and they're going through that. They can only do so much. Um, I think with the amount of people voting, even if we were to lose Georgia, if we got Pennsylvania, Florida, it wouldn't matter. I don't care about anything that other than um, we win and we win big. I don't care what states we get as long as it's win. Do you think we'll get ugly when he loses? No, I don't. Everybody's worried about that. Is it going to get crazy? Is there going to be violence? No. They threatened violence when we said we were going to indict him. Nothing happened. They said there would be violence if we convicted him. Nothing happened. These people are bullies, and which means they're cowards. They're terrified. It's one thing to attack the Capitol when Donald Trump is president, but with Joe Biden as president, it's going to be a much different experience. Now they aren't going to do shit. I grew up Republican, Wayzata, Minnesota. Trump done, folks. In excess, Wayzata, just down the road from me here. I'm not far from Wayzata. Know the area well. Analytical Iowan would love to see the Democrats gain a seat this term. Absolutely. Analytical Iowan is Eric. He's on the Rational Boomer podcast frequently. So when you see him here, you may want to follow him because he's got some interesting comments, and I love listening to him, and you will too. Whatever happened to the Epstein flight logs? Hushed up. Well, yeah, it's hushed up. I think we're likely to see more things come out after P. Diddy's shit comes out. That may be worse than Epstein's file, but we'll see. Everything is in a holding pattern till after the election because all these pussy ass bitch Republicans and DOJ folks don't want to do anything political. But when it's all done and Donald Trump has no more protection, I think we're going to see a lot of things coming out. We won't have Donald Trump to kick around anymore, but we are going to be hearing a lot of evidence about a lot of things. I think we're headed for a day of reckoning. There's going to be a lot of people exposed, not only with the P. Diddy thing and Epstein, but we've got superseding indictments coming from Jack Smith for sitting members of Congress for January 6th. It's going to get ugly for the Republicans. And frankly, it's going to be entertaining for me. I'm going to giggle my ass off. Wandering Jay, I think the Republicans are going to start jumping ship. Well, they already have to a large extent. There are a lot of Republicans say, no, I can't stomach this. It's enough for me. And that's where the problem for Donald Trump lies. If you're a Republican and you want to win a presidential election, you need a unified party. You need all the votes of your party. And he already doesn't have that. Not to mention the independents. The independents don't want to fucking touch him either. Bryn says, I believe they have to rebuild from the ground up. It's not my dad's Republican Party any longer. That's true. I think he's pretty much burned down this Republican Party. And as long as MAGA is hanging around, it's not going to be worth a shit. They're going to have to back off, rebuild, reimagine who they are, and then we'll see where they go. But then, it could take 10 years for them to get back on track. Smith put in an appeal, and Trump's got to go back September 26th. Yeah, and in that appeal, he's going to file a briefing, 180 pages, with just about all the evidence and exhibits that are in this January 6th case. And Donald Trump is not liking this a bit. He tried to stop it, but once again, he lost. Um, why aren't they talking how they are not making a deal on war because the felon said keep it going? I don't know that Donald Trump has that much impact on that war, which you have to understand about the war in the Middle East with Israel. We got one big problem there. We got the leader of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu. He's kind of like a mini Trump over there. And once the war is over, he's going to get kicked out of office and that motherfucker's going to jail. So he has every reason to keep the war going. I think our big problem is Netanyahu, not Donald Trump. Donald Trump's not as important as he thinks or as some of us think. Boomer, what do you think about the goofball in North Carolina? I love that motherfucker. He's pretty much lost North Carolina for Donald Trump, and I think it's great. Donald Trump refuses to step back from his endorsement. So does J.D. Vance. This guy is a special piece of shit. I mean, he's claimed to be a black Nazi. He's claimed to be a window peeper. He's claimed to be a perv. He owned up to it. And then he has the audacity to say, oh, that was probably AI. Really, bitch? In 2012, that was AI? I don't think so. Um, Casey Girl, continue to keep posting Harris Truth. That's a way to support her. Absolutely. Control the narrative. That's what the Republicans have always done. They got louder than everybody else and they kept going. Well, we are in the position to be louder now and keep it going, and that's what we need to do. We are all going to vote in Georgia like normal. Heather, thank you. I'm going to be down in Georgia on October 6th to the 10th. My wife and I have a little condo down there. We love Savannah, Georgia, so we're going back to check it out. As TJ the plumber says, don't interact with the trolls. The mods will handle them. Absolutely. Let them take care of that bullshit because these people are the worst. Why no mention of Katie Johnson from the Harris campaign? I'm not sure why not. Now, Katie Johnson, if you don't know who that is, there was a lawsuit filed by this Katie Johnson prior to the 2015 election. And the lawsuit was claiming that Donald Trump and a co defendant, Jeffrey Epstein, raped a 13-year-old girl. Um, they maybe don't have all the facts. You just don't want to throw around information unless you have all the facts. That could be the October surprise, too. Maybe they have something with it. Trick says, we are ready this time around. Yeah, it's a much different situation than in 2020. What about RFK Jr. trying to get on the New York ballot or off the New York ballot? I've always said RFK Jr. is a not important, inconsequential. He's just too big a goofball. He's not an addition to the Republican Party, and I think they're starting to second guess them being tied to him. Jenna says, "Oh, I definitely think Trump is going to pull off a PR stunt at McDonald's. Only PR stunt he can pull off there would be he would eat three Big Macs in one sitting and then shit his pants. That would be a PR stunt." All right, continuing on. Trump's got 2 more days, actually, 1 more day before he goes back to court. That's true. Um, what's your favorite dinosaur? I don't have a favorite dinosaur. As old as I am, I wasn't alive when the dinosaurs were around. Now, if my granddaughter were here, she'd probably have an answer for you. I'm 64. I don't have a favorite fucking dinosaur. So Trump is going to be homeless after the election day. Maybe not right after the election day, but he's going to have a problem. They're going to take all his money. He may not be homeless, though. There might be a jail cell where he will reside. So I wouldn't worry about him being homeless. He just won't like the home he's in. Poppy says, I like the way you think. Thank you very much. I appreciate you listening. What if some of these Republicans run states refuse to certify the election? You can't do that. You really can't do that. That's illegal. And then these lawyers for Kamala Harris will get the local DOJs or the federal DOJ to file charges against them. I mean, there were some lessons learned with these fake electors. Now these motherfuckers are going on trial and going to jail. So they can talk a good game, but that's not going to happen. They're not going to risk their freedom for a losing fucking candidate. Well, the conservatives I work with are ready for war. LOL if he loses. I guarantee you none of them are going to do shit. They haven't done shit up to now. They're bullies. And I'll tell you this. I will tell you this, Angel. When they get in your face and they make a threat, the only way they win is if you back down. If you slap the taste out of their mouth, and I'm speaking euphemistically, not literally, um, they'll just back off and cry. And that's what's going to happen. Um, I think there will be an issue with violence at the local level. Might be, I don't think so. When's the last time you saw violence? There might be some lone wolves and some goofy fucks here and there, but there's not going to be any mass crowds going after anything. They got 1,000 people convicted for January 6th, and there's still more coming. They're terrified that they're going to get thrown in jail. You must see an answer. If this guy has a great idea to do away with Trump, please. I'm not sure what that means. Who's worried about them? No one. No one's worried about them. I agree completely with that. Cool. I will check out the podcast. Please do so. The audio version of the podcast is on Spotify. The video version of the podcast is on YouTube. Just go to Spotify or YouTube, put in Rational Boomer, it'll take you to it. For the YouTube, there is a link in the profile here. You can get right to it. Not all the podcasts are the lives. I have a lot of guests that come on. I have email shows where I get a ton of emails and we go through that, and other times when we just talk about shit. So there's a lot of different things going on. And the important thing you have to understand is I do a podcast every night. So there's always new material coming through, and it's easy to get a hold of it. Cynthia says, I've been hearing that since Trump was president, he will not go to jail. Is that true? That is not true. There's some question about the Manhattan District thing. Will he go to jail? I think he might go to jail. I think if he wasn't going to jail, they would have sentenced him prior to the election. The fact that they put it off till after the election is more likely that he'll go to jail because, as I say, at that point, he won't be a candidate. He won't have the protection he does now, and there will be no issue of political bias if they put him in jail afterwards. But even if they don't put him in jail for the Manhattan District, the classified documents, the incitement of a riot in the Capitol, the Georgia thing. These are all serious crimes, very serious crimes. And if he's already been convicted of crimes and he's got new trials, he's definitely going to jail. Definitely going to jail at some point. People will say this thing because they heard somebody say it, but they don't know what they're talking about. They're basing it on what they know from history. But what you have to understand is we've never seen anything like this in history before. So to compare it to something from the past is like comparing apples and oranges. It doesn't work. Do you think Cheney would be appointed in the Harris Walls office? I do not. And I think it would be a mistake if they did. Liz Cheney has some credibility and some integrity, but you have to remember she is absolutely a hardcore conservative. She doesn't believe anything that Democrats believe in. Now, people say, yeah, but she stood up against Donald Trump and she was on the January 6th committee. The fact that she was being honest, the fact that she stood up to the corruption and the treason of Donald Trump, that's the bare minimum we should expect out of a fucking representative. I mean, I appreciate what she did, but she did what she should have done. So I'm going to thank her for it, but I'm not going to give her accolades for doing what she was supposed to do. The problem is all the other motherfuckers aren't doing what they're supposed to do. But she wouldn't fit in the administration, and I think she understands that. I think what's more likely to happen with Liz Cheney, and I think she's thought this out, is that when she got kicked out, when she got voted out, she said, I'm going to stand back, let this fucker burn, and then when they have to rebuild the Republican Party, I'm going to be the one standing here, and I'll lead the charge at that point. Don't worry about Liz. She's got plenty of money. Who ends up having to pay all his bills he's racked up at the towns he has had rallies? Will they sue him? Well, of course they'll sue him, but if he has no money left, what's going to happen is the towns are going to have to eat the money, and it's their fault for giving him credit. They should know better than that. Um, D says they really don't want that smoke. Yeah, I think you're right. Uh, Lauren, you're right. This time our VP and her team are very prepared. Yeah, absolutely. Um, We're not quite an hour yet that I know of, TJ. We're at about 48 minutes, but I appreciate for keeping everything stable. We're going to go on for a bit. Uh, so what is exactly happening on Thursday with Jack Smith? Talking about this earlier. He's filing a brief regarding the superseding indictments regarding the election interference case in Washington, D.C. He's filing it and giving it to Judge Chutkin. It's an oversized file. It's like 4 times as big as a normal file, and that's because it has a lot of evidence and exhibits in it. Donald Trump does not want that to be filed because it's going to come out before the election, and it has tons of evidence we have not seen. But Judge Chutkin said she would accept the oversized briefing. So Donald Trump is fucked in that regard, and his um, chances are the shit's going to come out before the election, and it's not going to be good for Donald Trump. James White says, "Thank you for everything, Boomer. Thank you guys for coming and listening and interacting." Let's see here. The Secret Service should be looking into you for threats against Trump. Uh, I made no threats against Trump, but you're gone. Fuck you. It's the first video on my shared stories. Okay. Do you receive government assistance? I do not. No government assistance. I never even took unemployment in my whole motherfucking life. I always was working. I don't know why you would think that, but you'd be wrong. And in addition to being wrong, you're also gone. You're gone. I know what you're getting at, and I know you like to play this game, and you're not going to get a chance on my live. If I don't want you here, you're fucking gone. F Snow says I would love to see a blue wave. Well, get ready. You're about to see it. Bridget says I just do not get how he's able to run for president. It baffles me. There's nothing to be baffled about. The only reason he can run is because in the Constitution, it doesn't say anywhere that somebody with a felony conviction can't run. And the reason it isn't in the Constitution is because our forefathers never had any idea that we'd be dumb enough to allow or even elect a felon. That's why. It's a technicality. Do you think Cheney would? Okay, we already did that. It's funny, all the Republicans and Trump, the best qualified. Yeah, some of these Republicans are the dumbest people I've ever seen. They're all fake threats just for theatrics. Yeah, there's always these threats. I'm going to do this. And they only win if you go, oh my God, don't do this. I'm scared. If you lean into them and say, fuck yourself, then then they run because they're cowards. Does he check in with probation? I would imagine he does. He would have to check in with somebody as a convicted felon. It's he's going to be sentenced on what, uh, November 26th. So he hasn't got anything overturned. He hasn't appealed anything or won an appeal. So yeah, he's probably checking in with a probation officer. And I bet he loves the fuck out of that. Charlotte says, you must have a crystal ball. Crystal or Charlotte, you're blocked. So I do not have a crystal ball. I'm just not a dumb fuck. I have a average or above average intelligence like everybody else here on the TikTok live, and it isn't hard to see who's the criminal, who's corrupt, who's the piece of shit, and who isn't. So you don't need a crystal ball for that. They think we're scared and we'll change our votes. No. And that's the other thing about the polls. The polls come out and say it's so close or Donald Trump is winning. They also think that people won't come out if they think it's a lost cause. Well, we all know better than that. This is the media just trying to manipulate. Um, Thoughts on the polls? I think D-Lin, I think the polls are bullshit. We don't know who owns the polls. We don't know the questions they ask. We don't know how they ask them. We don't know who they ask them of. We don't know what they do with the data once they have it. I told some other folks tonight, I'll tell you too, D-Lane, that the better barometer for support, fundraising. And guess what? Kamala Harris has raised 4 times as much money as Donald Trump. And don't you think that somebody going into their pockets, grabbing their hard earned money and giving it to a candidate is more an illustration as to who supports who, as opposed to some poll coming from people we don't know about, asking questions we don't know anything about? The polls have been wrong in 2016, 2020, 2022. Why would you believe them now? DGG, I'm getting anxious. We need to be on guard and work till the end and vote. Leave it all on the field. Absolutely. Here's the thing. When I talk about Kamala winning big, people say, "Oh, don't say that. People won't go vote." Well, I have a lot more confidence in my listeners and viewers here. They're not dumb. So if you need some motivation and you think Donald Trump is going to lose, and you think, well, maybe I don't have to vote, you have to vote, because now we're not just going for the win. I want to see the biggest landslide in history. I think that's important that we do this to Donald Trump, or a certain amount of closure. We need that closure. We need a mandate from this country that says, fuck you, Donald Trump. We don't want you here. You can take your MAGA fucks and get the hell out of here. It's important that we not only win, but we win big. Shane Martin, hi from Australia. You and Arlene are the best to watch and follow. Arlene, Arlene Unfiltered. She's absolutely great. I love Arlene. She and I come from a different perspective, but we have like minds. I need to get her back on the podcast again. She's been on a couple of times. Um, he can't run again after he loses this one. No, he can't. Jenna says, was the mall crowded today? It's been ages since I've been inside a mall. Yeah, I did a TikTok from the Mall of America. I'm here in Minnesota. And I probably, last time I was probably at the Mall of America was 15 years ago. It's funny, people who live in Minnesota don't typically go to the mall. Some do. I don't typically do that. It wasn't crowded at all. But I got to tell you this, it's fucking big. And as I'm walking around there, I'm an old man. I'm 64 years old. I got halfway around this thing and I said, honey, why don't we sit down a little bit? And that's when I did the TikTok. My wife said, well, I'm just going to go in there and check something out. You want to just sit here? I said, cool. So I'm sitting there by myself, resting my legs. I said, fuck it. I'll do a TikTok right here. The sad part is they don't believe what they hear. Yeah. Well, here's what you have to understand about Trump-a-fucks. We're never going to change their mind. You can't convince them. You can't argue with them. But the important thing is the base. There's only so many of them, 25, maybe 30%. And that's not enough to win the election. So don't worry about changing everybody's mind. Just worry about changing enough people's minds, the reasonably intelligent people, hopefully some Republican moderates and hopefully the independents. And it looks like we're already doing that. We've got 200 former politicians or current politicians, 200 Republicans who've signed on with Kamala Harris. That says a lot. Polls are to evoke our emotions. Cynthia, you're absolutely right. That's what it is. They're fucking with our heads with that regard. Media wants us to be nervous and scared, so we stay close in touch with what they're feeding us. It's all about views. It's all about money. You're absolutely right, Cynthia. Um, let's see here. I like how you're ignoring the trolls. Yeah, I don't give a fuck about the trolls. They're freaking idiots. Um, I've told some of them, I said, I'd love to argue with you, but you're too stupid. I can't drop down to that level to talk at that ignorant level that they're coming from. Trump's campaign has not only stolen our flag, our patriotism, but now are too big to rig saying, yeah, Donald Trump is likes to co-opt things. It's not working for him as well these days. We will know a definite answer on election night. Yeah, I think so. A lot of people would suggest that, oh, it's going to go on for days. Well, no, it's just so tight. No, it's not going to be that tight. We will probably know on election night or the next morning. I agree with you completely. Thoughts on the Taylor Swift factor? Well, I think it plays a big role. And this is another thing to think about the polls too. When Taylor Swift suggested people to register for the vote, some 300,000 people voted. The polls are talking about voters, but it doesn't factor in young people coming to vote, the millennials and Gen Zs, people who are just voting for the first time. Polls don't reflect that. So I think it's going to have a huge effect. I think the people who win this election will be women. Remember last time it was black women. This time I think it'll be all women and the young people. That's going to put us over the top and bury Donald Trump. Why isn't Trump sued daily because of his slandering lies about people? We'd be taken to court. It's true, but he's got this protection as being a presidential candidate. But like I said, after the election, when he loses, he's going to have no more protection. So there's going to be a ton of lawsuits. Once he's weakened to the point he will be after the election, there's going to be a lot of people coming after his shit. Cali Girl says, I believe women will decide this election. I tend to agree with you. I mean, a lot of people will be helping, but this overturning Roe v. Wade takes constitutional rights away from 50% of this country, that being women. 75% of the people support Roe v. Wade. Yeah, women are going to bury Donald Trump. I think whatever polls came out suggest that the vast majority of women are voting for Kamala Harris. Lisa says, I hope and pray you're right because I've heard so many people say it's too close to call. Yeah, but who are you hearing it from? The media? The media has skin in the game. They want you scared. They want you worried. Yeah, all you have to do is look at the facts. Take the emotion out of it. Take the bullshit out of it. You got the worst presidential candidate in history who has no money and no ground game, 34 felony charges, liable for sexual assault. And then you have Kamala on the other side, maybe the most popular presidential candidate in history, has more money than she's needed, fundraised 4 times as much as Donald Trump. She's got Republicans stepping away from the Republican Party to vote for her. Take those facts and please tell me how it's close. It can't be close. Um, hey, Boomer, is Kamala still looking to win? Yeah, she's going to win. Um, Springfield is suing him and Vance. I don't know if they're suing him, but we talked about this early in the live. What's actually happening in Springfield, an organization is filing criminal charges against Donald Trump and JD Vance because in Ohio, individuals can file criminal charges, and they have done that to Donald Trump and JD Vance. So I'm wondering what happens when they come to Ohio to campaign. Is the sheriff's department going to come out and cuff those two motherfuckers? I hope so. But here's the interesting thing. Ohio, I don't know if it's just the city of Springfield or the state of Ohio, but they have filed charges against JD Vance, who is a senator representing fucking Ohio. Jesus Christ. And I cannot ask Mike at Rational Be Okay. What can't you ask me? You can ask me anything. Penn worries me with them holding back the early vote and counting on the day of the first vote. I wouldn't worry about it. It's a fucking game they play. The upside to that is if they hold it to the day of the election to count the vote, um, it'll give Donald Trump false hope, and then he'll get blindsided again like he did in 2020. And I kind of like that actually. Let's see here. Trump all day. TKD Rosie. See ya. You don't even have to do anything. If I think you're a Trump humper, I want you gone. Moderators, don't mute them, boot them. Harris is the best choice. Yeah, there's no question. Here's another guy, Master Blaster. I can tell with the name you're a dipshit, so you're gone too. It's, it's funny. When you do what I do, I get a lot of Trumplefucks calling me names, talking shit about me. And I really think they're hurting my feelings. It's not. I think it's hilarious. I would love to sit across the table with one of these people because I guarantee you, if you let me talk to them for 15 minutes, I'll make the fuckers cry because they're weak as shit. And, but they'll never do it. I've had people say, I'll be on the podcast. I'll teach you a lesson. They never show up because they're pussy ass bitches. That's why. The media says it's a tight race, but I don't believe that. Well, Elaine, good for you, because don't believe that bullshit. They're always wrong. They've always been wrong. Cindy F says working hard in Florida to turn this state blue. Thank you very much. If we can turn Florida blue, Donald Trump is fucking done. And I think you got a good chance there with the abortion question on the ballot, with the legalization of marijuana on the ballot, with Ron DeSantis fucking up an absolutely beautiful state. I think people are getting tired of the bullshit. Um, Ann says, I cannot send Mike a DM. I, yeah, you probably can, but not while I'm doing the live. I won't be able to see it. What about issues about the certification of the election? Well, let's talk about the certification of the election. The sitting president won't be Donald Trump. The person in charge of certifying the election will be Kamala Harris, the vice president. The House of Representatives will have been flipped on January 3rd to the new Congress. Hakeem Jeffries will be the Speaker of the House, and the Democrats will hold the majority. So good luck with that. Good luck, Republicans. You got nothing going for you there. Kalina says, I enjoy your live. Thank you very much. The live is only predicated on how many people come and get involved, and I appreciate that. Thoughts on John Tester's Senate race in Montana? Dems need the Senate. Well, I think they'll get the Senate. I think they will beat Rick Scott in Florida. Good chance they'll beat Ted Cruz in Texas. I think John Tester will be fine. I think the only seat we'll probably lose is West Virginia. Manchin is out, and it's likely a Republican will hop in there. But I think we'll be fine. I think we will at least be where we're at, or maybe gain a couple seats, honestly, because we're talking about a situation with this Roe v. Wade thing. It's like nothing we've ever seen. People aren't going to vote for anybody that supports Roe v. Wade, and that's virtually every Republican, or supports abolishing Roe v. Wade, and that's virtually every Republican. I don't think you understand how big a deal this Roe v. Wade thing is. This is affecting a lot of people. 75% of the people in this country support Roe v. Wade. When they told you there would be a red wave in 2022, I said there wouldn't. And the reason I said there wouldn't be is because of overturning Roe v. Wade. Red wave did not come because of Roe v. Wade. And they haven't forgotten about it. It's pretty draconian. There are women suffering, struggling, and risking their lives because of this bullshit law. And they're going to come out in mass on the 5th of November. Oh boy. We got a lot of Trump humpers out here. And another one gone. This is what I like when I do the TikToks, and I do get Trump humpers coming to me every so often, but I've blocked so many over the years, thousands, literally thousands. Uh, what they do is they expose themselves to me, not literally, but expose who they are, and then I can block them and be done with them. Tony S says all his debt and crimes make Trump so influenceable, which is huge security risk to our country. Oh yeah, with the amount of debt he has and the entanglements with adversarial countries, he's a huge security risk. And I think a lot of Republicans realize that, whether they like him or not, it really puts our country in jeopardy. And if it puts our country in jeopardy, then even the Republicans are fucked. Is there going to be another debate? Well, as of this point, no. Donald Trump is chicken. He's not going to debate with Kamala. Kamala signed on for a debate on what, October 26th on CNN. Donald Trump has said no. I think if they keep calling him a chicken, he may do the debate. But we've got another debate before that, and that's going to be interesting. Castoni 99K says, do you think Walz will do well against Vance on the debate? No question. He will destroy JD Vance. JD Vance has got a big Ivy League education, but the fact of the matter is all he does is lie. Tim Walz seems like a down-home guy, small town guy, but make no mistake, he's a smart motherfucker, and he will turn JD Vance inside out. Oh, more people blocking. I hope that Trump doesn't have a chance to win. He doesn't. Don't worry about Trump winning. He ain't going to win. Will MTG and Boebert lose their seats? It's a possibility. It's a possibility that they will. But think about what happens if they don't lose their seats and the Democrats uh, get the majority in the House, which they almost certainly will. That's pretty much going to neutralize them, and they will just look like idiots, and they might end up getting expelled ultimately. Frankly, I don't mind it as long as the Democrats get the majority in the House. I don't care if Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert are there because they're ineffective. They get nothing done. If we're going to have representatives from a Republican Party in those seats, I'd rather have stupid losers like them than somebody that might be more formidable. Um, let's see here. Does he and his family lose lifetime Secret Service security if he goes to jail? That I don't know. I would think he does, but I don't know that for sure. MTG might get beat. Boebert won the primary with around 50% support. She's in trouble. Yeah, I think they're all in trouble. And I think the Roe v. Wade is one of the big things, not to mention that they've looked like absolute idiots their entire time in Congress. I mean, when do you get tired of being embarrassed as a Republican? Trump is a security threat. One of Australia's former prime ministers said Trump is a security threat. Yeah, I remember that, and you're absolutely right. What Harper, all the MAGA like Marjorie, Laura, Ted, Mitch, Jim, Kevin, and so on, not seen in the media. Yeah, it's interesting. They are quiet, aren't they? Um, Kate May Chris says, "Why did the chicken cross the road to escape the debate?" I like that. Thank you. Did you see From Russia with Lev? I've seen parts of it. It's good. It's obviously very good. And it's certainly not helping Donald Trump exposing that information. Um, JD will be drawn on the carpet. Yeah, I think so. JD can't avoid looking stupid when he's giving a campaign speech on his own or if he's in an interview. Tim Walz will fucking destroy him, and I'm looking for it. What about Walz's service? I know who you are. Tim Walz was in the service for 24 years, 4 years longer than he needed to be. Nobody you talk to that's served with him or served under him or he served for has said anything negative about him. How about somebody um, dodging the draft 5 to 6 times when the Vietnam War was going on? That's the question we should ask. Tim Walz is cool. He did exactly what he was supposed to do. He served this country. Donald Trump hasn't done fuck all for anybody but himself. Sugar Boom Boom, Rational Boomer, thank you for all your commentary. Thank you very much. Do you think Ohio can flip blue given the lie? I think they can. I think it can. I don't know enough about Ohio. I'd love to see Jim Jordan get his ass kicked. I don't remember the lady's name, but she was on the Rational Boomer podcast some months back. And I hope against hope she can beat Jim Jordan. That motherfucker should have no position at all. He is an absolute joke. Walls has had held his own on in Fox News with all the Trump fucks. Yeah, he's kind of like a Pete Buttigieg. He's an easygoing guy. He's a decent guy, but he's smart too. He's very smart, and he will tear JD Vance apart. Okay. Try to go through every state should go blue. That's best for the country. That's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for a massive landslide. I really am hoping for that because I think it's important to send a message to Donald Trump, the Republicans, and MAGA. You're fucking done. You're absolutely done. And now we're going to try to fix this thing. You better go off and try to come up with a new plan for your party. Sounds like politics is turning into a religion. I think for some people it is. They're intermixing religion with politics, which shouldn't be done. There should be a separation between church and state. Republicans think otherwise. Well, maybe you ought to read the Constitution because the Constitution says otherwise. Waste of taxpayers' money. Do you think Ted Cruz will lose his seat? I think it's looking more and more like he's going to lose. I mean, let's be honest. Nobody in the Senate, his colleagues, like the motherfucker. He's been made to look like a fool. He's tied to Donald Trump. Donald Trump can say his wife is ugly and he'll still kiss his ass. This is a weak motherfucker, and I hope he does lose. You should listen to Drayton Nay. He has #1 results on the election poll. I've listened to a lot of people that have had good track records, and maybe they're good. I'm just looking at the facts, man. Polls worry me because they can be manipulated in order. in order to manipulate us. If Kamala wins, she can certify the election. Yeah, I think she can. I mean, at the time when the certification is happening, um, then um, she would still be the vice president. Now, I'd heard if she can't or doesn't certify it, it would be the most tenured person Democrat in the Senate. So a Republican isn't going to get their hands on this. Mike, encourage people to vote, please. Well, I think that's a given here. We should all be voting. We should all take that moment in time to vote to make sure Donald Trump gets buried. With all the shenanigans in Georgia, I'm hoping we don't even need Georgia to get 272. I don't know that we'll need Georgia, but I don't think we should forget about Georgia yet. I think Georgia's more solid than people think. If he goes to jail, he won't need the Secret Service. He'll have Bubba to protect him. Yeah, that's probably true. What do you think about Jasmine's future political career? You're talking about Jasmine Crockett, the representative from Texas in the House of Representatives. That's a sharp, tough lady. I think she's got a bright future in politics, thankfully, and I think she does a great job. Marjorie Taylor Greene's opponent is a brigadier general. Republicans went to him to run against her. Yeah, I think there might be some strategy to get MTG out of there. As much as they might like the fact that she's a rabid Republican, they're a little tired of getting embarrassed by her. So I think there is a chance. Um, there's a chance the Republicans want to drain this farm. Okay, somebody else asking me a question. On a different note, Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul, I'm more of a BCS. Um, I watched all of Breaking Bad. I've only watched parts of Better Call Saul. I like them both. They're both great shows, but I like Breaking Bad. My wife and I early on watched it in mass over a period of a few days, and it's a pretty incredible show. Did you see Trump said he'll lift sanctions off of Russia and Iran if elected? I did not see that, but that does not surprise me. Let's see. Do you think Harris will win in November? Yeah, of course I do. Because you can't get a Democrat to see that they're wrong. Okay, well, that is 406, not tell them. And see you later. Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord hits you. Fuck you. What do you think Trump will do when he loses the election? Well, he's going to start screaming that he won, but he won't have the power that he had in 2020. People are going to be laughing at him. People are going to be stepping away from him. He's going to be ranting and raving like a madman to no avail. He'll go to trial. He'll go to jail. They'll take his money. It's going to be pitiful and it's going to be horrible for Donald Trump. And I'm going to love watching every fucking minute of it. Leave Tim Walz alone. Yeah. I don't think you have to worry about Tim Walz. You get too close and too mean, he'll fuck you up. Thank you for all the facts and truth that you share with us. Greatly appreciated. Thank you for following. When Kamala wins, we'll see better outcomes from Supreme Court. Yeah, when she wins, I think the Supreme Court is going to take a different tone, but that doesn't mean that Kamala doesn't need to get some things changed in the Supreme Court. There's a few ways they could do it. I don't know what exactly she's going to do, but like I say, there's a lot of problems we have to fix. And I think the best thing we can do is focus on the big, most important one and then worry about the other ones later. First one is win the election. Once we win the election, we can take a look at what else we have to do and we'll have the power to get it done. Vance and Trump are douchebags when it comes to common sense. They're douchebags when it comes to fucking anything. The Trump humpers are ridiculous. Do not interact with them. The mods will handle them. Yeah, don't interact with the Trump fucks. They're idiots. What do you think about the love affair Sean Hannity has with Newsom? It's strange to me. Do they have some kind of friendship there? I don't know. Maybe they do. Gavin Newsom's a solid Democrat. He's a good potential candidate in 2032 because Kamala will likely be a candidate in 2028 again. So um, I don't know anything about that. I don't watch Fox News because I got better things to do. Why didn't you have a problem with Clinton? I already blocked this fucking clown. Why are we talking about Clinton? That's the fucking 90s. Stay on topic. Stay in this fucking century. Jesus Christ. Thoughts about the Electoral College and battlegrounds. I'm not that worried about it. I think the race is going to be pretty significant for Kamala. I think she'll win significantly in the Electoral College. I think there will be states that we don't expect to flip that will flip. So I'm not worried about it. A lot of people are, but people telling you to worry about it, they're doing it to get you nervous so that you keep watching. When Kamala wins, can she certify the election? I believe so. I believe that's true. But like I say, if not, there will be the person, I think, with the Democrat with the highest tenure in the Senate, they'll do it. Let's see here. Do you think that Kamala will get more votes than Joe Biden did in 2020? Yes, I do. I do think she'll get more votes than Joe Biden. Doesn't really say much about it. You know, it's a much different situation in 2024. I think people voted for Joe Biden because he was a good candidate, but more so because they were scared to death of Donald Trump. And I think at this stage, they're even more scared to death of Donald Trump. And Kamala is a popular candidate. So, yes, I do think she'll get more votes than Joe Biden. How about new charges on Trump and his VP mate in Springfield, Ohio? Yeah, I talked about that. Um, Criminal charges have been filed against Donald Trump and JD Vance for their lying and inciting violence in Springfield, Ohio. I want to see how that plays out. How do they bring him in for an arraignment? Do they go cuff him? Do they have to wait till he comes to Ohio? Does that mean that he won't be campaigning in Ohio? And JD Vance, for God's sake, he is the senator representing Ohio, and now he's got criminal child charges filed against him. Fucking A. That's crazy. I can't stand Jim Jordan. You are correct. Yeah, Jim Jordan is an absolute piece of shit, and he needs to go. Thoughts on Trump going to grocery store? I don't have a lot of thoughts on Donald Trump, to be perfectly fucking honest with you. Donald Trump at this stage will do absolutely anything to get a vote, so it wouldn't surprise me. Does Trump owe Kim Jong Un $20 million? That's what I hear. And I got to tell you, if you're not protected by the U.S. government, not a candidate for president, I'd be a little worried about how Kim Jong Un's going to collect his money. Why isn't anyone showing up to Harris Wall's rallies? Okay, we know who this motherfucker is and what he thinks. Fact is, they're showing up in droves. There's far more people, tons more people going to see Harris and Walls than ever went to see Donald Trump, especially now. Marine says Ohio in here doubtful will flip blue. Jordan will win due to gerrymandering. That's distinctly possible. Big Papa Buttigieg would be a strong candidate in a few years. Yeah, I think Buttigieg will be a good candidate. I think he'll be in the cabinet for Kamala. He's a solid politician. Tony says MAGA folks completely fell for a Russian influence operation to sow unrest in the U.S. It's sad. Yeah, you know, it's funny. If you go back to the 80s with Ronald Reagan, the Republicans hated the Russians. For whatever reason, now they love them. It's virtually criminal. He said it's going to be a bloodbath. Yeah, Donald Trump says a lot of shit. He's been begging these people to come out and fight for him, but after he was indicted, after he was convicted, nobody showed up. They're terrified. With Joe Biden as president, they have no protection. You know, if they get violent, it's going to get shut down quickly and it's not going to be pretty for them. Um, Thoughts about the poll? Polls suck. Don't listen to the polls. Look at the fundraising. That tells you more. Does Trump owe Kim $20 million? Yeah, that's what I said. That's what I hear. I don't know. Nobody contacts me about his profit and loss statement. Do you think Kamala will get more votes? Okay, yeah, we've already done this. We got to move ahead a little here. This is not a rival ball game. We need to get back where our congressional leaders work for the people. Yeah, that would be nice if they actually did their fucking job. That would be incredible. What is he talking about? A bloodbath? Well, he's talking about trying to whip up his people into violence because that's the only way he can win. It's not going to happen. They failed the first time when Donald Trump was in power. Now it's Joe Biden in power. They aren't going to do shit. Um, I can't wait to never hear his name again. That's going to be a long time because he's going to play a big role in history. He's going to be a pariah. Instead of not hearing his name again, I'll be happy hearing his name every day as long as it has to do with getting his ass kicked. Let's see. Kamala rallies has passive crowds. You can feel the excitement. Yeah. The Democrats can look after the election by getting stuff done that people actually want. Absolutely. Once they get the power, they need to step on it and do a lot of good stuff. So when the next election comes up, there's no question. Texas dropped my registration. I go tomorrow to redo it. Yeah, I've heard this story before. If you're in Texas or some of these other places, these red states, check on your registration because they're fucking playing games with it. Go to vote.org, I think, and you can find out whether you're still registered or not. And if you're not, go re register. But some of these red states will fuck around with you. Living in Iowa, I understand Iowa could go blue, 75% of the women against Iowa abortion law. Yeah, I was talking to Eric, who is the analytical Iowan, and he's starting to get that feel too, which is interesting because when I first started talking to him, he thought, no way Iowa would ever turn blue. So that's hopeful. TJ the plumber says volunteer at your local Democratic Party HQ. Let's win the election top down. Hello from Shreveport, Louisiana. Hey, Trill. Yeah, love Louisiana. I haven't been there for a while. I need to get back. Concerned about those states that may not certify their election results. They have to certify their election results. If they don't certify the election results, it's against the law. There will be charges filed against them. They can talk a good game, but when it comes down to sticking up for Donald Trump and going to jail or not, you know what they're going to do. Do you have any fear of November 5th? Absolutely zero fear. I know Kamala's going to win and she's going to win big. No fear. None of us should have fear. Nobody's gained anything by being afraid. If we're going to win this thing, we've got to be confident and strong and keep charging and run these motherfuckers down. Uh, Bonifacio. Hello, Boomer. Friloto from California. Hey, how you doing? I don't know Spanish, so you have to bear with me. Do you really believe the election is that close? No, it's not fucking close at all. It's going to be a decisive win for Kamala Harris. And if Donald Trump keeps fucking around, it'll end up being a landslide. Lauren Best says, there you are. I haven't seen your post in a while. Well, see, that's the fucked up thing. I do post every day. Always have. I missed one day a few days ago because my son got married and I was the officiant, and we had to watch our granddaughter, so it was a real busy day. Other than that, I'm here every day. Blame it on the TikTok algorithm. Um, Mike Tess says, "Where's the two people that were injured in the first assassination attempt? No interview, nothing. Or the guy that died, his family. Isn't that funny? Nothing, no information about that has come out. No doctor's report about Donald Trump. Nothing about the people who were injured. Just forgotten about. That's the Republicans for you." Let's see here. Georgia wants to hand count all the votes before certifying. That's ridiculous. It is ridiculous, but understand that Kamala's got lawyers out there working on all this stuff. I mean, Georgia may not even be important when it comes down to the election. There's going to be a lot of states flipping blue that they weren't expecting. So Georgia wants to fuck around and look stupid. Well, I don't think it's going to help Donald Trump at all, but we'll see. Oh man, the dumb fuck Trump fucks. We're getting to that point. We're at about an hour and a half. So I think I'm going to wrap things up for this live. As I told you before, I've recorded this live and it's going to be the Rational Boomer podcast. I will put that up just shortly after midnight. You can hear the whole live on the Rational Boomer podcast. You go to YouTube, the video version is there. You go to Spotify and the audio version is there. Just search Rational Boomer and you will find it. Um, so I want to thank you all for joining me here on this live. I want to thank my moderators, Greg Captain and TJ the Plumber. Without them, we wouldn't have lasted this long. So I appreciate their efforts and their hard work. I know, uh, I know TJ at least gets a little joy out of taking care of these Trumplafucks. So he got some excitement out of this. But we're going to wrap things up for the Rational Boomer live here on TikTok. I'll be back again soon. I'll be doing this a lot between now and November 5th. Keep listening to the Rational Boomer podcast. You also see the short videos on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, and on YouTube. So we got you covered here one way or another. Thank you very much. We'll talk to you again soon. All right. That was a long one, hour and a half. Now we're just talking on the Rational Boomer podcast. And I'd like to go on for another hour. No, I wouldn't. I'm about ready to go to bed. So I want to thank you for taking the time to listen. I hope you have a great day. And again, we will talk to you again tomorrow.